All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the roving microphone going now. The stationary mic had a dead battery. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Let's just take a moment, look around the room, and realize that we're taking a moment looking around the room with a bunch of people again. How about that, huh? It's nice to be back. Thank you all for joining us. This is our 89th occasion to get together. And as always, we start out with prayer and the pledge. I asked Father Richard to come up, and we tasked him with double duty tonight, both the prayer and the pledge. And I can help you with the pledge if you need.
I think I'm up for it. I'm honored to be with all of you in such a distinguished group this evening and to congratulate our honoree. And so let us pray. O God, our loving Father, as the sun sets and the evening is upon us, we acknowledge you as the great giver of all gifts and the creator of our world. And we know, O God, that you've entrusted to us the care of this earth. You've taught humankind to be good stewards, and you've helped us to be guides and leaders, but servants as well. And so tonight we come to give accolades and thanks to a servant among us in gratitude for a life of acknowledgement and care for one's brothers or sisters. Bless our gathering here this evening on this special night. We give thanks for the food that we will receive and share. Let it be a foretaste and a glimpse of a great heavenly banquet we are to enjoy with you. And let us each be encouraged this night to give of ourselves more and more for the betterment of our communities and the graciousness of the world that you have created. And all these things we ask in your blessed name. Amen.
Amen.
Where's our flag?
In our heart. Your flag's in your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight. Just to give you kind of a rundown on what's going on. We'll have introductions, then we'll break. In about 5 minutes. We'll have dinner, and after dinner, we'll resume with the program, and we'll be able to honor Barry Berthelot, our good friend here. The head table is the most boisterous table we have here tonight. Can you hear? Can't hear? All right. Well, and this is the mic that has the live battery, so we're doing what we can there. I'd like to introduce the Civic Cup to you. Civic Cup has been going on for 89 years. Barry is our 89th recipient. We have several members of the Civic Cup here tonight. And what I want to do first is introduce the officers and the executive committee who are responsible for putting this program on. My name is Gary McGoffin. I have the privilege of being the president of the club. That's a loose term. You just take your turn, you draw the short straw, and it's fun. Our treasurer is Ed Abel. I think back over in here. Secretary is Hank Perrette. And the executive committee is Dr. Jeannie Kramer, Dr. Paul Azar, and our newest conscript, Mr. Jerry Gregg. Appreciate everything that y'all have been doing for us. We're going to adjourn right now. Enjoy yourselves. Remember what it's like to be out with friends and enjoy having an evening together. And thank you all for being here. We're going to be back about 7:40 to start again. Kick off right now, we're going to introduce our past recipients. We're going to introduce the ones that are here. You each have a program, and it lists everyone who is still living out of our 89 recipients. But with us tonight, I'm going to call your names. When I do, please stand up and we'll applaud for everybody at the end and thank them for what they've done. These are in alphabetical order, not age order, but we'll call Ed Abel first. Dr. Paul Azar, hold your applause. Hold your applause. Buddy, up. Stand up. You can do it. I've seen you. Jerry Gregg, one of our newbies. Dr. Jeannie Kramer, one of my mentors. Kevin Moody. Dr. Mary Nyheisel. Hank Perrette. Fred Prejean, our recipient last year. Bo Ramsey. And Richard Zuschlag. Let's thank them for their service. We usually have at this point in the program a memoriam for those Civic Cup recipients we lost in the last year, and I'm very proud to announce we didn't lose anybody this last year. Of all the times they all survived, this was it. So congratulations to them. We want to thank our sponsors. This is a loose crew, but it's a big event. And one of the reasons we're able to do that is because of the sponsors we have. Our long-time, forever relationship with the advertiser, who's been with the Civic Cup since it started back in 1933. Representing them tonight are Ashley White, who wrote the wonderful story this past Sunday about Barry and the announcement, and Andrew Capps, who's turning up dirt all the time and doing a great job. And we appreciate y'all being here. Our good friends at Iberia Bank, Jerry Prejean and Pat Trahan embody them, although they're not the only representatives here. Y'all have always been with us, and you've always been very kind, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Our fiscal agent, and let me explain what that means. The Community Foundation adopted us because, like I said, we're kind of this loose band of hopefully do-gooders, volunteers. But one day, we were told we actually needed a tax ID number for our checking account because we didn't exist. And the Community Foundation took us under their wing, and Raymond Hebert's here, and his staff have just been wonderful in taking care of us and promoting us. Thank you, Raymond. In terms of how we put this on, you're going to see a wonderful video. There's been great promotion going on, and Cheryl Taylor with Right Angle, who's sitting up front here. Cheryl, either raise your hand or stand. She comes to our rescue every year and makes it right. And we get a dynamic duo because Ed Bowie, her husband, with Acadiana Open Channel, if you look around, we've got four cameras. We've got 3 cameras with AOC. They're broadcasting it live, and we'll have a recording. So Barry, you'll be able to relive this magic moment in the years to come. And they've really stepped up for us on that. So we thank AOC for being with us tonight. The screen here, you're used to it if you've been here before. If not, you're going to see a wonderful video of a tribute to Barry by his friends. And the people that do that for us are Chris and Christopher Alain over here, who have, I think this is what, our 11th year or 50th year, however long it's been. But they do a great job, and they make us look good, so we appreciate that. And last but not least, Dr. Azar and Barbara, who have been putting on the banquet and taking care of this for, I think, 100 years. Madeline Bustani asked them about 10 or 12 years ago to handle the banquet, and they've been doing it ever since. And great food, great place. So thank you all for doing that for us again. All right, so now we get to the fun part. Our tradition with the Civic Cup is that last year's recipient introduces this year's recipient. And it's a nice transition because I know when I received it back in 2010, Dr. Azar was my introducer, my presenter, and he came over to my house. We sat down and we talked about the fact that I'd never have to buy lunch again, which was not quite true, but the spirit was there, and he's been integral for this for a long time. So tonight, we have the pleasure of Fred Prejean, last year's recipient, to introduce Barry. And before Fred comes up, I just want to say about the Civic Cup, it's one of the unique things about it is it honors a single person. And it's not because that single person did everything themselves, but it's to acknowledge the fact that a single person can motivate people to do great things. And so rather than being a group award, a team award, it's an individual award. And Fred, who was our recipient last year, did a lot of wonderful things for our community that we never thought could happen. And one of the nice things that we get to do in handing off from last year to this year is they get to know each other. And Fred's going to tell us about Barry. He's going to introduce our video and make our presentation to Barry. So Fred?
Good evening, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed your meal. I was going to explain to you that I'm here speaking with you because I was the last year recipient, and Gary robbed part of my speech. Nevertheless, the best part follows. We're going to talk a little or share a little information about Barry. I'm sure many of you know him and probably know many of the things I'm going to be talking about. But at any rate, there are some. I, for one, recently met Barry, and I was amazed at the accomplishments under your belt. But let's start from a beginning point. In 1967, at the age of 17, Barry moved to Lafayette from his hometown of Chalmette to enroll in the University of Southwestern Louisiana. He earned a BS in the Business Administration in 1971, and in 1976, he earned an MA at Northern Michigan University in Public Administration. Barry and his family have called Lafayette home for the past 55 years. Although I have only recently met Barry, I have learned many outstanding things about him. Currently principal at Family Business Advisors, he previously served as Executive Vice President and Director of Organizational Development for Iberia Bank. Prior to that role, Barry held the position of Lafayette Market President for J.P. Morgan Chase and its predecessor, the First National Bank of Lafayette. Barry also served in the government. Here in Lafayette, the governmental sector as Chief Administrative Officer of Lafayette Parish Government and Director of Administration for the City of Lafayette. He also served with distinction as a U.S. Air Force captain and pilot during the Vietnam era. Barry was a member of the First Leadership Lafayette class in 1987. This excellent program offers participants numerous experiences in all facets of business and social life here in Acadiana. Coupled with talents he possessed when chosen, his subsequent activities are testament to the success of the program in developing future leaders for this community. According to Barry, and I quote, "Volunteering in some degree is something innate. When you get more successful in life and business especially, you're expected to do more and you're called to do more. Helping people, making the community a better place for everyone to live, and helping those less fortunate, whether they're poor or sick or unemployed, it's always been an important thing for me," said Barry, end quote. Barry has certainly lived this creed during his abundance of community involvement and achievements, which have been very, very impactful. What is particularly impressive about Barry's civic service is not merely the fact that he successfully contributed to so many diverse and worthwhile causes, but in most cases, he led these foundational organizations as chairman or president as well. He has served as a member and president and or board chair of the ULL Foundation, Board of Trustees, the board of Greater Lafayette Chamber of Commerce, United Way of Acadiana, the board of directors of the LUS Foundation, the Community Foundation of Acadiana. Hold on, we're going to get to the end, and I have a comment. St. Thomas More Foundation, Opus Christi Magnum, and Bishop's Charity Ball, just to name a few. These are just a sample of the many endeavors Barry gave time and effort to, all for the betterment of our community. Barry says he's now transitioning into a quieter life, and why not? I mean, after such a full life of work and service. He does volunteer with his church several days a week, looks after his 11 grandchildren, tries to keep up with his 5 sons and daughters-in-law. And the most important one, I'm almost forgetting. He enjoys life with his wife, Becky. Mary McLeod Bethune once said, "If I have a legacy to leave my people, it is my philosophy of living and serving. I think I have spent my life well. I pray now that my philosophy may be helpful to those who share my vision of a world of peace, progress, brotherhood, and love." I think Barry's life exemplifies such a legacy. Barry capably represents the best in Lafayette's volunteer, philanthropic, professional community as an accomplished civic leader and humanitarian. But there's still more to know about Barry. I learned he possesses the character and values that deserve the respect he has earned. He made friends not because of the deeds he achieved, but because of the trust, confidence, and goodwill he shared. Let's hear what some of these friends had to say in this video created just for Barry. Although he was asked to select some special people to be included in the video, he has no idea exactly what they had to say. Together, tonight, we all get to see the video for the first time. As the lights lower, direct your attention to the screen. And that's somebody's cue. As the lights lowered. Okay.
I first met Barry Berthelot in 1969 at USL when we both pledged Sigma Nu fraternity together. Barry adopted Lafayette and has chosen Lafayette to raise his family and is Lafayette by choice. initially went to work for the city of Lafayette, and I think he was the director of administration there. He subsequently segued over to the parish, where he was the chief administrative officer.
When Barry was involved in government, one of the observations that I, along with others, had, that he brought a tremendous sense of professionalism and practicality to the position.
But what he also, stressed was that we had to do more than just be leaders on paper. We didn't go home at 5 o'clock. We then, had to pay it forward to this community. And that's what Barry did.
He was really able to, I think, cultivate relationships and sort of integrate things one to another and nonprofits to government and to the private sector. So he was sort of that intermediary all the time.
When he left to go into banking, I think he left having made significant contributions to those organizations.
He brought those same qualities to banking that he had in government. It was about serving the people.
He was very significant in making the banking industry a better corporate citizen.
I think in looking at Barry's overall life's work is true, because he's really touched probably every facet of life in Lafayette for sure.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with Barry on several projects. I served with him on the Lafayette Chamber Board of Directors when he was chairman. We also served on the founding board of directors of the Community Foundation. Barry was vice chairman and chairman of this board.
How lucky Barry was to be on the ground level of Leadership Lafayette, to be the founding of the Community Foundation, to be involved with Downtown Development Association at the time when they were making some key decisions.
Beginning with the Jefferson Streetscape and the Natural History Museum, the parks, ACA. Now those later projects came to fruition after his tenure, but beginning the planning process and the outreach that it was going to be necessary to do did happen, and he was a leader in that way.
It's probably not so much that Barry was fortunate to be sitting at the right place at the right time, but that indeed he was among the catalysts who moved these organizations forward.
We really didn't know exactly what the Community Foundation was going to look like, how it was going to work, and exactly how it was going to benefit the community's citizens. It was here that Barry's leadership and reputation opened doors into the business community, which allowed the Community Foundation to explain our mission and to build trust with our potential donors.
He really had a way of focusing on the impact that an organization made and how someone's contribution to that organization connected to the lives of real people in our community.
One of the things he was involved with, he had a strong passion for, is the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. My youngest brother had gone through that, and so the money that he was raising was very personal, and they did a lot of great work and impacted a lot of people with that work.
He spent some time in the Air Force, so he was structured, very well organized. Barry was about business, and there was a time and a place to play. If we played softball and before the night ended, you would get to see that human side of him.
I think he's passionate about everything that he's ever been involved with, and he's not one that's just gonna do something just to do it. He's gonna do it because he has a passion.
When I served with him on the Greater Lafayette Chamber of Commerce, I remember Barry declaring it to be the year of the education chamber.
He worked on big, significant issues whose impact after it was completed lasted for years within organizations or within our communities.
He was a leader, and he displayed those traits with everything he did.
I was able to sit in on a few different meetings on various committees or boards with him, and one of the things that always struck me was that he didn't say a whole lot, but when he spoke, people listened.
Barry had a tremendous amount of credibility with people, so they trusted him and they could rely on what he was saying and sort of the things that he laid out.
When he spoke, you understood that he was there for you, and that whatever the need was, he was going to accomplish that.
He's very authentic. He is authentically trying to move the initiative forward.
So in his book, this is the chapter that he's a grandparent, and he gets to impart his wisdom on those that are coming up.
Because he has been terrific at recruiting and mentoring so many other people in the community to be leaders. And so if he touched 20 or 30 or 100 people to go out into the community and continue to do good work, then he's multiplied his efforts and his inspiration in that way.
There's that old story of parents sitting around a table and the kid does something and they say, where did you learn how to do that? And the kid says, well, I learned it by watching you. And I think that's certainly applicable for all of his children and me as well.
And if you look at the pattern there, the children that Barry raised are all involved in community service.
And I think that speaks a lot about who Barry Berthelot is.
Barry, congratulations. You more than deserve this honor for all you have done to improve the quality of life in Lafayette and Acadiana. There's more work to be done. We need you at the table.
Barry, congratulations on your selection as a Civic Cup Award winner. It is well deserved. I consider it a tremendous privilege to know you and Becky and your family. You truly have been a servant leader. You have been inspiring, and you have touched the lives of many people in our community, and you've made our community a better place.
Congratulations on this well-deserved and probably overdue recognition. Thank you for being my brother, my colleague, my mentor over these years, and I look forward to spending many more with you going forward.
Congratulations, Dad. We're so very happy for you on this well-deserved honor, and we're all just so proud that you're our dad, and we love you.
We appreciate your friendship, your leadership, your mentorship, and because of you, I think government is at a level that we can continue to provide a good quality of life, and we're going to continue to pass that baton on.
Barry, I just want to add my hearty congratulations to the congratulations of the entire community. It's so deserving and possibly even long overdue. I wish you the very best, you and the family. You've been a godsend. We love you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm sure you will agree, the Civic Cup is once again being awarded to an outstanding person. With no further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome and present to you the 2021 and 89th Civic Cup recipient, Mr. Barry Berthelot. Please help me welcome him. Let's give him some love. Barry, I believe this belongs to you. Okay. On behalf of our executive committee and the past recipients of the Civic Cup, I extend our heartfelt congratulations. And now, the mic is yours. Thank you. I'll tell you.
I'm going to reduce my hour speech to maybe 45 minutes, and I know you have places to go. I want to thank you all for the kind introduction, Fred, especially. It's a privilege for me to follow you as the recipient of this award. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is a great crowd, and I didn't get to talk to everybody yet. I have a little bit of regret about that, but so many bankers, so many people from city government, so many, Richard Zuslag and I were sharing memories. We go way back. It's great to see everybody here. I'm really touched that you would take the time to come out. Special thanks to all the sponsors again and my colleagues at Iberia Bank, First Horizons for being the premier sponsor. It may come as a surprise to you, but I really don't like drawing attention to myself. I have not been doing a very good job these past few weeks with all the recognition that I've received from the announcement of this award. My friend Randy Haney gave me some really good advice, a past recipient, said, enjoy the honor. And I've been trying to let it sink in over the last couple of weeks. It's a bit weird. It's kind of like hearing your eulogy. I noticed everybody in there said he was, he had, he did. And I'm still here. But it's a bit weird, but it's very nice. So this is the first time I've seen the video. I don't know who that guy was that we're talking about, but I'd like to meet that guy. But thanks to Kathy, Rob, Jerry, Elaine, Gerald, and Ben for their kind words. You know, I think that context is very important for, in many situations, in particular when you look at a tradition like the Civic Cup. I had been actively involved for a long time before the Civic Cup actually got on my radar screen. I got tuned into it. The first banquet I attended was in 2002 when Matt Suller received the award. And I was sitting right back there somewhere looking at this program, which is beautifully done. And I was drawn to the names of the past recipients. And I was kind of looking for people that I knew or had worked with. But I was drawn to a name of someone I didn't know, Inez Nealon, who received the award in 1939. Didn't know her, didn't know anything about her. I did a little research, and she was apparently very instrumental in getting recreation programs up and running. The advent of the recreation department today, she started as a volunteer. And Nealon Park on Gilboa Road is named after her. It used to be called Inez Nealon Park, but for some reason, I guess they dropped the first name. She was also on the founding board member of the League of Women Voters. I looked further on, I noticed that in 1941, the award went to Edith Garland Dupre, whose name I was familiar with because I had been to the library at USL a few times as a student. So Max, it's that big building on St. Mary with the big boulders, not the one in McKinley that we used to go to. It struck me in a very male-dominated society that two women were among the earliest recipients. And I thought it really spoke well to the Lafayette community and made this award even more special to me. This was never a good old boys club. Certainly Jeannie and Mary would not have allowed it. To me, Lafayette has always been a very welcoming community and had no barriers to entry as far as business and community involvement or concern. Want to be involved, raise your hand, and let's get started. A great job, Ashley, got that one on the front page of the paper. Just raise your hand. It's not who you know, it's did you show up and do some work. While looking through the program further, I noticed that the earliest recipient who I had personally worked with was Sid Ory, who received the award in 1956. I met Sid for the first time some 20 plus years later when I returned from the Air Force, and he was still active 20 years after receiving the award. Active in the community and a great cheerleader for Lafayette. I learned from Sid's example and that of other past recipients that you don't get to retire from civic life when you win this award. Much is expected, so I guess I still have work left to do. You don't set out to win the Civic Cup Award. Not one of the names on this list set out to win the cup. If there were no Civic Cup, they would have done the exact same thing in their lives that ended up in them receiving this honor. I'm just standing on their shoulders as they have stood on those that preceded them. You know, I've enjoyed listening to music for much of my life. I like to listen to the lyrics of some of the great singer-songwriters. Some years back, usually I'm drinking a glass of wine, something like that. Some years back, I got into listening to Van Morrison, and some of his popular songs on the radio drew me to more of his lesser-known stuff. And I discovered what a great poet he was. He had to actually read the words, which I did. It was a CD that happened to have the lyrics stuffed into the cover. Otherwise, some of the songs would have passed right over my head because he mumbled a lot, which my wife has told me all my life that I mumble. So I'm trying not to mumble tonight. His writing was often very spiritual in nature. I was listening to one of his songs one night in deep thought and reflection. The song was called Whenever God Shines His Light. And these lines stood out to me and have stayed with me all these years. If you live the life you love, you get the blessings from above. I thought then that maybe I hadn't lived the life I loved because I didn't know what that was in terms of career. You know, most of us aren't born with a crystal clear focus of what we want to be when we grow up. You just kind of find your way. If I thought more about it, I probably would have been a farmer or a rancher because I love the land. So instead of living the life I loved, I had learned to love the life I lived. My civic involvement and all of that personal relationships with so many of you made my life richer and more fulfilled. And the blessings came, many, many blessings. Family, friends, community, and each of you here tonight. The greatest blessing for me has been my family, and my greatest thanks goes to them. My wonderful wife, Becky, and I has been mentioned, have 5 sons together, 5 beautiful daughter-in-laws, 11 wonderful grandchildren. We have a blended family, and she is the glue, the strong foundation that holds us all together. She's the best wife, mother, and grandmother I could ever ask for. I love you all so much. So sometimes you wonder if what you do matters. Are you making a difference in your community, in your job, in your personal relationships, in your family? This award tonight certainly validates my community involvement over a lifetime, and for that I'm truly grateful. To close out my remarks, I would like to share with you a poem, not by Van Morrison, but by my grandson, Thomas Harry Berthelot, son of Luke and Jessica. All of our grandchildren are special and unique in their own way, but Thomas is on the outer fringe of uniqueness. He's 12 years old, be a teenager soon, but in truth, he's been going on being almost a teenager since he was 4 years old. But first, a little more context in line with the thought, does what you say or do really matter? We have a tradition of Sunday dinner at our house for whoever can come. We always say grace then and at the family gatherings, even though it's like herding a herd of cats at times with such a big crew. For years, I led the prayers before meals, but occasionally would invite one of my sons. A few years ago, I started inviting some of the older grandchildren. Some accept and some don't. Thomas always accepts when invited. But I did often wonder if it meant anything to them or if all the cooking and preparation was noticed. So a few months ago, Thomas wrote a poem for his 7th grade class at St. Pius. He got an A+. Instead of me reading it, I would like to call on one of my good friends and poet laureate, John Warner Smith, to read it. John, come on up. John was the poet laureate for the state of Louisiana for 2019 to 2021. So we don't often have a poet laureate in the room.
Yeah, that Barry Berthelot, man, let me tell you, just a couple of personal remarks before I get into this really powerful poem. Back in my government days, you know, I'd be sitting in my little office, my little cubicle, and every now and then somebody would call from the outside, you know, it had nothing to do with work. Got a call one day from this guy, and he says, I got this great opportunity I think you should think about, John. I looked at it and said, well, no, Barry, that's not me. A couple of years passed. Call from Barry. Here's a job opportunity. I really think it's a good fit for you. Barry, that's not me. I can't do that. I'm not, that's not me. Years passed. Call from Barry. John, we'd really like for you to consider doing this, coming over to the bank. I said, Barry, that's just not me. 3 times I turned this guy down, right? And, you know, you heard Rob say how he was such a mentor for a lot of folks. Well, he was that guy for me. And then one day, I called Barry when I really needed him. He took the call and came through. So I owe so much to him, you know. I really do. He's a special person in my life. Let me read this powerful poem by Thomas. I couldn't believe this was a 12-year-old boy who wrote this poem. I teach creative writing, and I said, gosh, if I can just get my college students to write like this, it'd make my job so much easier. Thomas Berthelot. It's titled, Where I'm From, based on George Ella Lyon's Where I'm From poem. I am from dirty old shoes, from strong-smelling goo gone and lighter fluid. I am from the flour all over the kitchen floor. I'm from the magnolia tree, the rose bush, whose thorns still remind me of pins and needles till this day. I am from dirty Santa and messy brown hair, from both Becky's and Berthelot and Chauvin. I am from the bald heads and the reading glasses, from TV's too loud and kids sit on the ground. I am from the lunch prayers and the dinner prayers, where the prayer leader is passed down through generations. I'm from Lafayette and False River, watery red beans and delicious gumbo. From the fingertip my uncle lost to the back door, and the scar on my arm from the dreaded rice cooker. I am from the scrapbooks and photo albums filling up many cabinets. I'm from those memories, lost faces, moments where life just feels right. Thomas Berthelot. Let's give Thomas a hand, please.
Well, that's it for me. I got the cup, and I'm taking it home. I really, for my part, thanks so much for coming out. I know you all had other things you could do, but it's really touches my heart to see so many people come out. Thanks for everything you've done.
Barry. There's a Civic Cup tradition that Dr. Azar established back in 2010. When the Saints win the Super Bowl, you get to drink from the cup. And so we're hoping that you get to do that soon. Thank you all for joining us tonight. A couple closing remarks. Dr. Kramer's going to give us a benediction in just a minute, but you've just been served your Bananas Foster. We had a flaming demonstration that was going to precede it, but since you got it already, go ahead and eat. Danny Izzo over here is a photographer working with us tonight, and we have a couple. We know 2 group photos we want to take. One is the past recipients. We'll meet over in there, Danny, wherever you tell us. The second is Barry was our lieutenant commander, Jerry was our eminent commander, and we have a bunch of Sigma News here tonight, and white roses. I think 3 perhaps. And so we want to get a Sigma Nu photo as well. That's not restricted to those 2 groups. If you would like to get photographs, just Danny's right over here. Wave your hand. He's at your service, and the photos will be available, and we can take care of that later on. So with that, I want to thank you, Barry. It's been a long life together. It's interesting to come back and to do this. I was talking to the crew for AOC before we got started, and I said, well, you know, Barry and I were in college together. We were fraternity brothers. And they said, really? Tell us the real stuff. And I went, well, the real stuff was he was serious, he studied, he showed up on time, he did his work. And there was never a moment when you said, Barry? And he's lived his life that way. And Barry, I'm very proud to know you. So with that, Dr. Kramer's going to come up and do the benediction for us. Enjoy your dessert. Certainly enjoy coming by and visiting with Barry and get all the photographs that you want.
I always am so happy to be the last person on the program because I get to congratulate Barry. Congratulations, a richly deserved award. Please join me in thanking him again. It falls to me to end the evening, and I'm so privileged that I have a chance to do that. I thought a lot about what to say tonight, and I'd like to close with something just for Barry. What impressed me among many, many things is that he started out his leadership life not only as a commander of Sigma Nu, but also as a pilot. So I'd like to end tonight with this poem, High Flight, from the late John Gillespie McGee Jr. from 1943. I'd like to just excerpt the last of it, if you'll join me. For you, Barry. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. And while with silent, lifting mind, I've told the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God. To all of you, good night. On Si Soit-il, and our deepest thanks for joining us. Congratulations.